Buffalo After Dark is proud to recommend I Barbecue for You. Pre-orders are suggested by calling 716-880-7667. I Barbecue for You, Buffalo's new barbecue destination.
Just move the Coyotes. Don't do another expansion.
Right? It would never cross my mind. So somebody called the house when I was out mowing the grass.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Holy shit, your face is like purple.
Are you still up? Now in your fifth season, it's Buffalo After Dark.
Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It is Wednesday night, November 13th. Yes, I do look a little bit different. Yes, my background looks a little bit different because I moved, but guess what? We are fucking back.
Fuck yeah, let's do this.
Hey, man, it's only been about 2 weeks since I've seen you, man. How's things been going since Seattle?
Things have been good. A lot has changed since the last time you and I saw each other in the Pacific Northwest. Great trip, by the way. We're gonna get to that in a little bit, but a lot has changed in the atmosphere of like Bills football, the Sabres hockey, and of course, for the one thing we're talking about tonight is the presidential election. So things have really drastically changed since then, but we have a lot to cover. So it's been a while, and of course, I was away for a little bit to Indianapolis, which we're going to cover.
Yep. So, of course, if you guys want to jump on the air, feel free. We're live on YouTube. We're here on Facebook as well. 92920560099, and we're here for about the next hour or whatever, how long we want to be here. But we will address the election. One thing real quick, and basically, yes, everyone saw Donald Trump is the president again. However you decide to vote is however you decide to vote. But don't bitch and complain if you didn't vote.
Exactly. If you're a Democrat and you don't like Trump, okay, we can agree to disagree. And if you're like us, because we are Republicans, or in this case, we're Trump guys, yes, we voted for Donald Trump and we hired him specifically to make America great again. And I gotta tell you, man, I am really, really excited just for the fact that Trump is getting back into office. And he's learned a lot within the last couple of years from his first term. He didn't really know what to expect. Now he's putting in like an all-star cast in his cabinet for that second term. But unfortunately for him, this is the last term that he's going to be able to serve. So he's probably trying to make the best of it. But there is no doubt I am beyond excited that Donald Trump is coming back to the White House.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and then, with that, the way I look at it is this, we normally don't discuss political stuff on this channel. It's one of those things we just wanted to get it out. It is what it is, and we can always agree or disagree. Everyone is always welcome here, no matter what. We appreciate everyone that does join us here, and of course, our big thing that we love to talk about is sports and give you some unfiltered takes and talk about some different things, and it is what it is. So we just wanted to address it real quick, and for those who voted, thank you for exercising your right to do so, regardless of who you voted for. It's your right to choose who you want to choose for, and we just always say, do your research and vote who you feel is your conscience. So that's how we go. But
Well, my favorite phrase of all time in politics is coming back, and that phrase is "make liberals cry again."
oh boy, oh yeah.
I fucking love it, dude.
Yeah, but anyways, let's jump into some fun stuff because obviously, for anyone who has been watching anything on our channel over the last couple of weeks, big thing was there's actually 4 Road to 32 episodes that are up. There are actually 3 right now that are up, and a 4th one that's soon to be coming. But the first 3 covered everything that we did in the Pacific Northwest, and I will tell you this. Being out in the Pacific Northwest, being in Seattle, fun city to be in, and we'll talk about that game in just a moment. But our first night out there, now we both flew. It was kind of a funny story. I was supposed to get in the time you were supposed to get in. You were supposed to get in, or actually no, you were supposed to get in the time I got in. You guys got in at the time I was originally supposed to come in. Then you guys landed at the gate I was supposed to be at, and I landed at the gate you were supposed to be at. So that was kind of interesting with how that worked. And
It was
yet,
very backwards.
yeah, And yet it was funny because then I ended up having to take the train and SeaTac to get to you. So I'm like in the airport, which I will say the whole that airport is being renovated, so it is kind of a cluster right now. But it all worked out. So and then trying to get the rental car out of there was a pain in the ass in that
Oh my
garage.
God, yeah. Yeah, and I remember when we first got in that first day to Seattle, we were 3 hours behind because the flight was for me and Britt was 5.5 hours long because we were going against the wind. But and
Hmm.
the funny thing about planes is when you're against the wind, it actually takes longer to get to your
Yeah,
destination. But then when you're flying with the wind, it's actually faster, which is funny to me. But the funny thing when we were in Seattle is when we were waiting for you, like you were just saying, we we were supposed to be ahead of you, and then it was completely reversed at the time, and then
right.
our plane got pushed back by 25 minutes because there was a technical issue with one of the wings or something
Mm.
like that. I hardly remember it, but I remember just getting off the plane, getting onto the land in Seattle, and we see you, and you're on the opposite side of the airport. You find us, and we get the damn rental car, and the
Yeah.
first thing we did was went to Fred Meyer, and
Oh man, I hadn't been in that place in over 20 years. I mean,
yeah,
they had them in Boise, Idaho, and for anyone who doesn't know, Fred Meyer is like a super Walmart, except it's owned by Kroger. So
and supposedly it's a West Coast thing. And I
yeah,
didn't even
it
know that
is.
was because
Yeah, Seattle, or yeah, they're actually based out of Oregon, but they're only in Oregon, Idaho, Washington State, and Alaska.
that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I never knew what that place was because I've never been to the West Coast ever in my life. I've never been to
Hmm.
Los Angeles. I've never been to Arizona. I've never been anywhere in the West Coast until up to this point where Washington State became the first state, at least in my lifetime, that was considered a West Coast state that
Hmm.
I've been to. So I took that off my bucket list. So when we do future Road to 32 episodes, that means Las Vegas would have to be on that list.
Hmm.
Phoenix would have to probably be on that
Yep.
list, and of course Los Angeles, San Francisco, things like that. So there's gonna be at least like five more trips ready to go out in the West Coast.
Yeah. Now I have been to Vegas before. My dad and stepmom, I know that they actually used to live outside of Vegas, and actually I spent 2 summers in Vegas. So I'm pretty familiar with what it is out there. It's a totally different world out there, and I will also say it's definitely different than when I was out there as a teenager. So that part is definitely interesting. But at the same time, I will say though, I mean, Fred Meyer is actually a pretty cool place. I actually liked that place a lot when I was younger, and I do like it still now also. And we actually had pretty good lunch in there while we were waiting. So I mean the sushi and the other stuff. And they had a Starbucks in there at least, so that was a plus.
Well, Starbucks is like is
They're
like
everywhere.
huge over there.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. We actually saw the first one ever that was outside of Pike Place Market, and then we went into the Reserve Roastery, which was only about 2 blocks up the street from where we stayed.
yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, where we were staying was not that far from anywhere really. Like everything
Yeah.
we did was in like walking distance. And Washington, I will say, from a state standpoint is I think they're the most progressive state in the West Coast, if not in the United States. Like they're very pro environmentally friendly, and they're one of those like democratic like cities that cares deeply about that situation with having to not use cars, but rather they want people to walk and use their bikes, things like that,
Yeah.
or use the monorail. Like they're very big into that. So we
Yeah.
stayed in an area where we didn't really necessarily have to use our car except for like two other times.
Right. I mean, the only time we really used the car was when we went from SeaTac back to the B&B, and then when we went to Vancouver, Canada, which we'll talk about that in a few minutes because
Oh yeah.
we have some interesting stories about that place, and
Oh, for
then
sure.
of course when we went to Pike Place Market, because I know we went to the zoo right before that, and then came back. But otherwise, we either walked or we took the train wherever we wanted to go, and it was like super simple.
Yeah, it really was. And one thing we did was after we settled in for Fred Meyer, we went back to the hotel after 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time,
Yep.
and we all settled in because we had a whole, Airbnb to ourselves. Tom
Yeah.
had his own room, and then me and Britt had our own room,
Yep.
obviously.
Yeah,
But
fifth floor condo basically is what it was, and then I mean, man, I love the view we had from the 15th floor rooftop deck.
Oh yeah, that was a bonus to have for sure. Where you could see like the whole city, and then you saw like the sunset flight going down. That was a
Beautiful.
great view, and I think we had dinner there on the second or fifth
Yeah,
night or
yeah,
night or
second
whatever.
yeah, second night we went to Yoshino Teriyaki, which I swear to God, if I have to walk that fucking hill again, ever. Man, how about how we did that? Like the two big hills and then the small one. But
Oh
that
Jesus
first one
Christ!
was a freaking, oh my God.
Yeah, that was not pretty at all.
No, it
But
wasn't. And literally looking straight up as like where is everything? It's like you couldn't see anything.
like I could compare this to like with Seattle, it's like not to say oranges and apples here is if you compare cities like Boston or New York, because I've been to both cities,
Yeah.
is the thing with New York and Boston is they're very flat on the sidewalk surface. Like there's no real obstacle you have to go through because you just get off at Penn Station and you can walk
Hmm.
anywhere you want to go or
Yeah.
take the subway. There, everything is like fucking like curved down. And it's
Yeah.
got to the point where you have to force your legs to like put in the extra oomph to like
Right.
climb up these hills. And this fucking idiot made us walk within maybe 10 blocks to do it. And
It
it's
wasn't
like,
that far. It was like what, 4 blocks from our Airbnb?
yeah, it's something like ridiculous like that.
Yeah, five
But either
tops.
way, like, dude, we were literally climbing the fucking Mordor. That's
Right. Then how about coming back down? It's like, holy crap! You hope you don't fall forward.
I wanted to fucking kill you for that.
Yeah.
But
Well, hey, well, I was gonna say the one day walking alone, we got almost 8 miles in, according to my smartwatch. So,
yeah, that's true. But I will say that first night was Tom and I have a Run to 32 episode out
yeah.
for that already. If you guys want to see it, if you haven't seen it already, is Tom and I went to a Seattle Kraken game.
Hmm. Yes, so we actually ended up going over to Climate Pledge Arena, and it was nice where we were in the downtown. We took the monorail, which is actually historic. It's goes back to the World's Fair, and it was built the same time that the Space Needle was. And the monorail was supposed to be taken down, just like the Space Needle was supposed to be taken down, but they both stayed as tourist attractions. But that being said, I mean, I have to give it credit. It was the first time I was ever in Climate Pledge Arena. Same thing with you, and they did a great job on the renovation in that place. I mean, that was a nice arena and probably one of the nicest that I've ever been to. And one of the things I will say, I mean, the seats were great. We had some really cool season fans next to us, and their fans absolutely love that team. I mean, yeah, they're not playing great right now, but then the Western Conference is a hell of a lot more competitive in a lot of ways than the Eastern Conference. Well, and plus they have Bielsma, so that's another reason. But we all know that story from when he was here. But in any case, what I will say, that was a great arena. Their team store was great. I know you brought back some stuff. I brought back some stuff. And at the same time, I will say, for anyone who is used to KeyBank Center food, it is shit compared to what we had at Climate Pledge.
Well, Climate Pledge, there was like a buffet in every corner. And
Yeah,
I think, yeah, because it's like if normally when you go to a hockey game or
yeah, it's
a football game or
usually
baseball
pizza,
game,
chicken fingers, hot dogs, pretzels, and beer.
yeah, I had a freaking Seattle dog, which was, and I said it a few like before we left. It was supposedly cream cheese with onion, hot dog with like
Yeah,
ketchup or mustard on it. And I wasn't very sure about it at first because I thought, am I gonna puke or am I gonna enjoy it? It turns out it was not bad. It wasn't my first choice. I don't think I would have it again. But if I made my own version, obviously I think I would enjoy it a lot better.
yeah.
But I really don't know. But as far as the food, it was good, but there was like I don't even know where to begin with it because there was like
There's
different variety of
so many
things.
things, right? Like you had the Seattle dog. I had steamed pork dumplings or soup
Oh yeah.
buns, which those were really good. And I would put it up against some of the better places I've had that at. And then I got like a second thing later just to try it out, and it was like a pork belly like ramen type thing, which had some mixed veg and stuff like that in there, and that was actually really good. Like the food didn't suck. I know you didn't like the that Seattle Kraken IPA that I had, but which I ended up drinking it after you brought it back to to the B&B, but
Well, it
um,
wasn't you. It was more just a
I
me
think
thing because
it was a stronger IPA. It was like almost 8% alcohol.
well, it's not even that. I'm just not a big beer guy, but
Right.
IPA is definitely not my strongest beer to have. Like I enjoy a good cold fresh beer with
Hmm.
friends, but when it comes to IPA or any like
Yeah.
exotic beer, that it's not for me.
Yeah, IPAs are not my first choice. I mean, usually I'd go for more like a wheat beer, or I would go for something more like a lager, which I actually had one of Woodcock Brothers here in North Tonawanda last night. Met up with actually one of my former teachers. I had in high school. It was cool to meet up with him, and actually I have some of his concert book collection now that he had with like Neil Diamond, Meatloaf, and all that. I actually have some good merch. So if you're watching this, I know you do. Great to see you last night, and great to have a beer with you, and good luck with your move and all that. But I want to say, on top of that, the whole like surroundings and the in like everything in Climate Pledge was a lot of fun. It really was great setting overall, great fans. We'll talk about the Space Needle in a little bit, but it honestly was an awesome place to watch a hockey game. And then after we came back, then what we did second date, we really didn't do a whole ton in Seattle. Although we that's actually well, I take that back. We went to the Reserve Roastery, which was only like 2 blocks away from where we stayed, and then we got to do some coffee taste testing, and we had a couple different types. I know one of them was the oak whiskey coffee, and then I know there was that Guatemalan one that you showed on Road to 32, and there was one other one that was actually pretty good. But the
I
Reserve,
actually forgot the other
yeah,
one.
yeah, but the Reserve Roastery though, if anyone's looking for any of the stuff that they have, you ain't finding it anywhere because it's only at the Reserve Roastery.
Yeah, I mean, unless they're lying and you can find it on like Amazon or something. While we're doing the show, I actually definitely want to check that out. If it is actually on Amazon, if they are saying that it's only in Seattle that you can get it at the roastery, then I believe them.
Mm.
But if they're saying that there's a bag of meat, like a bag of beans for that type of coffee, then they're
Hmm.
fucking liars. So,
Yeah. Yeah, but I will say that roastery was very interesting, and they did like a nice blend of the old and new for the buildings, and we actually sat in a coffee library, which that was different. But honestly, it was a cool place, and it was definitely a lot of fun that morning. And then on top of it, then we did the stadium tour at Lumen Field, which that absolutely was fun, and kind of similar to Arrowhead. We got to go in the press conference room. We got to see the press box. I got to go up in the suites. We saw the whole Fox Sports with the A team indicating Tom Brady,
oh
which,
yeah,
yeah,
and of course we got to go on the field.
yes. And I got to dig up some of the crumb rubber and I cursed it.
Yeah, yeah, we did curse the Seahawks. I think we cursed the Chiefs a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we did when we walked out on the field. So, but we just kind of did that as our kickback, relaxed day. We ordered in afterwards, and we actually had DoorDash deliver a couple things. So, yeah, you ended up getting what was it, the 206 burger?
Something like that. I mean, I think if that's what it was, because I remember giving you the cash and then you ordered it for
Yeah.
me, and then we kind of just went from there. And then I think the next day after that, we had to get up early for Vancouver.
Oh,
I remember
yes.
I was watching Van Helsing in the Airbnb or wherever it
Mm,
was in the
yeah.
combo. Yeah, I was watching it for a little bit, and because I think you were showering, and Britt was taking a shower, you were just kind of relaxing.
Yeah.
The next day, we ended up going to Vancouver.
Oh
So,
yeah, and I will say I do not wish to be in that damn elevator again in that SkyTrain station because that was beyond smelling like reeking piss.
oh yeah, that's for sure.
But we did
Um,
get everywhere we wanted to on only 13 bucks Canadian, so that's all good.
oh yeah, but the one thing that we should mention is we actually ended up seeing Stanley Park. So,
Yes.
if anybody in Vancouver, because my buddy Brush, who is a member of the Drive for Five group for the New York Islanders, that group is currently in Vancouver and in
Hmm.
Seattle, and they actually, called me up the other day and they said, "Hey, Bobby, is there anything you guys can do?" As far as like things to see and things to do in
Yeah.
Vancouver. And I said, yeah, go to the friggin' Stanley Park and then go to the Vancouver Lookout. So that was what I suggested to them because they were going to the Islander game tonight, or it might have been tomorrow. I'm not sure. Either tonight or tomorrow. They're playing the Canucks, and then they're going to the
Hmm.
Kraken game in
Yeah.
Seattle. But the point I'm trying to make is, um, Stanley Park is a really, really large park. It's within the metropolitan area,
Yep.
and you could see totem poles, and then you could see this beautiful view of the Lionsgate Bridge and
Yeah.
Goose
North
Mountain, and then
Vancouver and of course we saw the Royal Mounties, the naval yard or something like that, and then you get a really nice view of the waterfront. And for anyone who has never been to Vancouver, I will say Vancouver was on my bucket list for a long time. Always want to get out there. It is a beautiful city. It truly is probably one of the nicest I've been to,
oh yeah,
and with that, of course, we went to the Vancouver Lookout after we went to Stanley Park. Then we took the Sea Bus ferry over to North Vancouver. We went to Lonsdale Key Market where we had some great sushi at a place called Little Tokyo, the firecracker roll. So we ended up getting those, and I mean the miso soup was great. Really nice small mom and pop place. And then we had some gelato in there. We got some coffee over at the Shipyards Coffee. The shipyards are right next door, and they had some fun stuff going on. And there's breweries and different. And they had like a kids Halloween event because it was right around that time when we were there. So that was great. It was about a 15-minute ferry ride across the harbor. So that was cool. And for anyone who's never taken a ferry, that was our first time doing it. It was pretty cool. And then after that, we were back at Waterfront, and literally that was the hub for everything. That was our major transfer point anywhere we went. We literally jumped back on the SkyTrain, went over to Rogers Arena. We had some ticket fuck up issues, but we got that fixed. And
yeah.
then we were in the game. We ended up on the Jumbotron, so that was cool.
Oh yeah. Why did you tell people what I did?
Yeah, you forgot to take the picture, asshole. I think I might have possibly have one with the three of us that we can kind of put together. But yeah, we ended up on the big ass like 32 by 50 screen or whatever the hell it is over there.
Yeah.
But I will say the Rogers Arena, it is cramped in there, but it was a good time. And that crowd is loud in that building. That
Oh yeah.
was one of the loudest that I would say out of a modern building. I mean, probably one of the louder ones I've heard was either in the old Odd or in the old barn by you. The one and only time I ever saw a game in the old barn.
But yeah, but I am definitely due to get you to a game to UBS. But
Yeah.
you know what? I'm surprised you did not mention the Vancouver Lookout, which was the big building in
Yeah,
Vancouver.
I did.
Oh,
I
you
mentioned we
did?
went to the Lookout. Yeah, which the Lookout, it's it's definitely a cool place where you can see this entire skyline and the mountains and everything. It's beautiful.
You can see Canada. You can see Canada Place. You can see
Yeah.
BC Place. You can see Rogers Arena. You can see Vancouver Island. You can
You
see
can see Stanley Park looking from
Stanley
there.
Park. Yeah, you could see the ferries. You could see the Canadian Pacific train
Hmm.
station line.
Yep.
You could see everything basically. Gastown. You could see everything in Vancouver just
Yeah.
from that one building.
Yeah, and Gastown is literally right where Rogers Arena is, and then once we were in there, you finally got what you wanted in the store, which is good. I will say it was a fun crowd in that building. Yes, it was cramped, but you know what? A lot of buildings from the mid '90s are, and I will say, man, Vancouver went on a big scoring spree in the second period. That
Oh yeah.
literally, what was it, 4 goals in like 5 minutes or something crazy?
Some ridiculous number, but it was also Tyler Myers' 1000th
Yep,
NHL game.
yep. So good to see him doing well again and all that. And I will say Vancouver got a great win off of that, and it was a fun experience. Then we got stopped by Border Patrol coming back.
Oh, that whole fiesta.
Oh fuck!
Yeah,
All
that
because
was.
we had a rental car.
Oh yeah, I actually told my buddies because they were taking a rental car up to Vancouver
Yeah,
this past coming weekend, and I said, be careful with going to the border because they're gonna ask you a billion questions. They're gonna ask you where you're coming from, things like that,
yeah.
and they don't play. Border Patrol doesn't mess around,
Well,
man. They
especially
really
that one doesn't on I-5. So
like they're a little more lenient in the U.S., but in Canada they're very very strict
they
on
were
their.
worse coming back. it was on the U.S. side. We got sent to secondary because they wanted to go through the car.
I still think that they only did that was because they were bored out of their minds and it was like 12:30 at night.
Yeah, and the guy was sending everybody over there, so I'm like, whatever. Although
I
the guy
think
was ready to have a shit fit going into Canada when I told him, yes, it's our rental car. He's like, what?
fucking idiots.
I know.
It's like, how do you expect us to go to Vancouver if we're not citizens in that city?
Right. Right. It's like, hey, we're spending money in your country. Shut up.
You know, really, just be grateful, you
Yeah.
bastards. But
Right.
anyway, and then of
But
course game day came, and we ended up seeing an ass-kicking fiesta for the Buffalo Bills.
yep. And it hit 108 decibels in there, which Lumen Field and Arrowhead are the two loudest in the NFL. Lumen Field, they say, oh yeah, we have the loudest at like 130, like 134 or 136 or something. It's like Arrowhead, they're basically like, hold my beer, we had like 142.2 or whatever it was when we went there, but Lumen Field was loud.
I've heard things about Ford Field in Detroit. I've
That
heard
gets up
stories
there
about
too.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, that gets up there also. But yeah, at one point it hit like 108 in there, and it actually got to see one of my good buddies, Carl, who I grew up with here in Lockport area. He's living in Colorado now, and he serves in the Marines. So of course, we thank you for your service, and and everybody as well. It was Veterans Day was a couple days ago, so of course we want to make sure you guys are all recognized also. But yeah, it was great to see him. I mean, I didn't expect him in Seattle, and got to see him up on the 300 level right where we were sitting, so that was cool. Lots of Bills fans in that stadium.
Oh yeah, and the funny thing is, I'll never forget is I actually have the quote in my saved albums from that game because I collect pictures from that game.
Hmm.
Geno Smith, after the game, because they got annihilated. I think the score was 31-10
Yeah.
or something like that over the Seahawks. And
Hmm.
I remember that game, and Geno Smith came out to the press conference and he said, even though we're at home, it felt like a road game because Bills Mafia just completely just took over Lumen Field.
Yeah.
I honestly could have not been any prouder of a fan base in any professional sport
Hmm.
to go across the country to watch their team and dominate. That's a
Yes.
hell of an accomplishment.
Yes. And then on top of it, let the rain come down because it was ugly.
Oh yeah.
It was coming down good too. We were
Oh
under the
yeah.
overhang, so we felt nothing. But I mean, I was gonna say, man, that the rain just opened up, especially at the end of the game. But beforehand, though, we did see some of the Bills tailgate, so that was cool. We also got to go down. Well, we went down to. I know we did T-Mobile Park. We went to the store there the one day. Obviously, we got stuff at the store when we were at Lumen Field. And
Yeah, we did.
and they actually have the experience right before the game where they actually have like a whole event center where you can go in and see like live music and do different things. And we actually got to meet Randall Morris, the former Seahawks Hall of Famer, and we actually got to see the Hawk.
Yeah, that too. So there was a fan fest going on, and there were two people. I think one was Kurt Warner, and the other one was Randall Morris. And
Yeah.
the only reason I remember meeting Randall Morris because obviously we have pictures from that game,
Hmm.
but I actually have a little something I want to show to the audience real
Sure.
quick. So when we were at the game, of course, we were there. We ended up getting, and this is actually going in my album this weekend. If you guys can see it, there's a little receipt right here
Hmm. Yep.
and it says Randall Morris, number
Go
43,
Hawks.
Bucks.
Yep.
And I had nothing to show, to say, hey, Mr. Morris, can you sign this for me?
Yeah.
So he was very nice by then. He was really chill. I'll give
Yeah.
him credit for
Oh yeah,
that.
he busted my balls for wearing the Josh Allen jersey, which I expected that. He's
Of
like, you're wearing the
course.
wrong colors, but no, he was a really cool guy, and great to get a picture with him and meet him. Obviously, he was a great player in his time for that team, and I do have that in my other room here, so that's definitely gonna be one of the things I save, and I do have the picture with him as well. So great time. We got to see the hawk that they have. Bill gave you a freaking nasty stare, the mascot.
Oh, yes.
He
Okay.
busted your
So
balls big
I
time.
have uh I have something that nobody's had before. It's called mascot phobia because I've always had this weird fear of mascots, and I'm a man in my 30s, okay, and it scares the shit out of me, and it kind of caused the PTSD since I was like 3 years old because my dad It's a long story, but irrelevant. But so I'm not a fan of mascots, and I don't like the faces. I don't like any of that. But we were waiting in line to get to the game, and all of a sudden, here comes Blitz, the mascot for the Seahawks.
Yep.
He's on a chopper. He's coming into the hallway, and I'm filming, and I'm sitting next to Brett, or I'm standing next to Brett, and there was probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people waiting in line at the gates just to get into Lumen Field, and he's coming down. He stops and because I said "Go Bills." He stops and he just gives me this
It
blank
gives you the evil
emotion.
eye.
Yeah, an evil eye, like almost like what did you just say? Kind of a face, and all
Yeah.
I said was because I said "Go Bills," but I didn't really have time to interact with him because I was laughing so hard because I said one thing and it pissed him off, and
Yeah.
there were like 100 Bills fans online, and I'm just like the only guy who said "Go Bills," and he just went nuts,
And then he tries to do a fist bump and pulls it back.
and he's like, "Oh, too slow."
Yep. Yep. I will say that was one of the most fun stadiums I've been to. I mean,
Hmm.
Arrowhead was great. Paycor was okay. It definitely was the worst of the three I've been to. Although Cincinnati was fun in a lot of different ways. But I will say Lumen Field, probably bar none, was one of the best football stadiums I've been to. And there's no question about that. Atmosphere was great. Fans are great. I mean, everything that they had there was really well done. And for us to get from our B&B there, it was only a 10-minute train ride. So, and we had a train full of Bills fans on the way back. And actually, the way to there also.
I mean, hey, I ain't bitching. I mean, we had a really fun time in Seattle for
Yep.
sure. And then of course we wrapped up the trip by going the next day to the Woodland Park Zoo and we saw all the animals there. It was really, really fun. And then after that, we went to Pike Place Market, which we
Yep.
really, really wanted to go to.
Hmm.
And we saw the fishermen or
Yeah, the
the
fish toss. So, yep, the big thing that they're known for at Pike Place is the fish toss, and we got to see a bunch of other things. I will still say that is the most expensive damn cup of apple cider I've ever had at like $17. But it was good. I will never pay that much again for one, but it was a good time. And we also ended up having some fresh seafood and burgers and stuff right there. Then we went to the Space Needle where we ended up going all the way up to the top and walking on the glass revolving floor, which I will say, if you don't like heights, don't look down.
Oh God, that freaked me the fuck out because I apparently found out that was the only the only revolving glass floor in
Yeah.
the world was in the Space Needle, and I said, "Ah, fuck," because I didn't know like how soft it was, so I was like petrified to walk through
Yeah.
it. But
As I say,
no,
the CN Tower in Toronto is like twice the height with the glass floor.
fuck that. I mean, I remember the CN Tower in
Yeah,
Toronto.
we went there back. I
Yeah,
think it was 2019. We went there because most recent time we didn't go in there because of renovations and stuff.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say, didn't we just go last December when I came to Buffalo?
No, we didn't go this last time.
Okay, because I was trying to remember when was the last time we went, but then you reminded me, and I said, "Oh, okay, I remember now."
Yeah, it was 2019 when you and Britt were up here. It wasn't you and Millman, so
Yeah,
but
I remember that. But
yeah.
no, the Space Needle was a lot of fun. We saw everything from an aerial view. You know, we
Hmm.
saw Lumen Field, we saw Climate Pledge Arena,
Yeah,
we
you could see
saw
T-Mobile Park from there. You could see the cruise in like the aquarium, the giant Ferris wheel, all that
yeah.
stuff.
And the
And
funny thing is, I saw a foreshadow when we were at the Space Needle. As I mentioned it to you off air, was I'm going on a cruise trip in May.
mhm,
I think it's May. Yeah, I'm going to Alaska, and the first flight from that trip starts in Seattle. So I'm going back to the Pacific Northwest
yeah.
for the day or for the whole trip to go on a cruise trip to Alaska. So I'm excited to do that.
Nice. Yeah. So overall, I gotta say Seattle fun city to be at, and I want to say special thanks to Deb and to Deborah and Jan for giving us a great experience in the B&B. It was a great place. We enjoyed it. They made sure we were well taken care of, and I mean, great surroundings. I also got to try some local beer. They hooked us up with some stuff on that, and I mean, truly nice people. So certainly, if you guys do watch, we appreciate it, and we left you a really nice review and everything too. And certainly, if anyone does take the trip to Seattle, take a look. Look them up. I mean, they have a great place. They have multiple units in the building we were in, and great hosts. I mean, you'll definitely enjoy it. So with that being said, then of course we ended up going forward, and of course the Bills are still winning, so that was great. So they got the win against the Seahawks. Obviously, they beat the Colts, which you just came back from.
Yeah. So that trip was very, how do I say this? Interesting. So
Yeah, your ass went through a table finally.
I didn't go through a table.
Oh, I thought you did, but you drank from the boot.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yes. So where do I begin? So the flight from Long Island to Indianapolis was not long at all. It was a 2 hour flight. And we got to Indianapolis around 12, like 10 after 12. And we had an appointment ready to go at Lucas Oil Stadium at 3 p.m. We got to the stadium by 2:30, and we actually ended up going to McDonald's because we weren't allowed to go into the hotel till after 3, just like any other hotel we've been
Sure.
to. So we had to kill the time. We went to McDonald's, and it was just when we were getting out of the airport because, again, it was a 2 hour flight, so we had nothing to eat at that point. So the next thing you know, we're at McDonald's. We're saying, all right, when do you want to get going to the stadium tour? So we went there around 10 after 2. We had 40 minutes to kill. And the next thing you know, we're walking around Lucas Oil Stadium. And I got to tell you something interesting. With Lucas Oil Stadium, the way the building is designed is it's almost like a giant warehouse, like in a way. So
Yeah, looks like an aircraft hangar almost.
kinda, but it was very, very interesting. So Lucas Oil Stadium, on one half is in the city, but on the other half, it's like the butt end of the stadium on the left side of it
Hmm.
is sticking out to a suburban area. It's kind of like if
Interesting.
you took downtown Buffalo and you took Orchard Park and you blended them together with the new stadium,
Hmm.
that's what Lucas Oil Stadium is
Gotcha.
like. It's very
Interesting.
interesting. So we go to the press box like we did in Seattle, and the tour over there was not very long at all. We were there for about maybe 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
I did one thing that we weren't able to do in Seattle, which was actually was in the Bills visiting locker room. No players
Nice.
were there. Yeah. So I was in the Bills locker room, the visiting locker room at the time, and it was like an old gym locker room from like the 90s.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's and
visiting teams get stuck with shit.
yeah, so the Colts have that really nice stadium, like nice locker room and all that. And then the visiting team has this really shitty mini-sized locker room, like there's a shower and stuff like that. But we also went to the press room, because the media's there and all that. So we got to see that, and then got to see the telephone line we saw in Seattle, but
Mm,
I saw it again in Indianapolis. So it said Colts PR on it.
yeah.
So I was just like, all right, cool. And the funny thing about Indianapolis, when I was on that tour, is I got to actually go on the field. Like when we were in Seattle, we were stopped onto the corner and we had like a
Right. It was like
barrier.
that at Arrowhead too. You could only go on the one part of the sideline.
Yeah, like when we were in Seattle, we were like stopped at the gate. And I remember
Right.
that.
Yeah,
And
couldn't go
then
further than that one part.
because at the time it was just painted, so they wouldn't allow us to go in.
Hmm.
The same thing was said in Indianapolis. We were allowed to go on the sideline and get pictures, and we were allowed to roam free for about a good 15, 20 minutes. And
Nice.
I got pictures and all that jazz. And they told us you can stay there, but don't go on the grass. It was just painted. And I said, okay, fair enough. So we're there, and the tour guide then takes us to the luxury suite, which is where Pat McAfee sits at for every home game. And where he sits
Nice.
is legitimately behind the goalpost at every home game for the Colts. It's
Nice.
insane. So we got to see that, and it was a pretty cool experience. And then we got a whole like walk around of the perimeter of Lucas Oil Stadium from where they take all the bleachers and all the equipment was taken off for the Bills and things like that.
Hmm.
It was very interesting. And then like I said, the tour was about maybe 45 minutes long. Wasn't very long at all. It's not like when we were at Arrowhead or Lumen Field where we got excessive stuff. They just kind of just took us to the press box, the locker room, Pat McAfee's chair, and then walked around. That was really all
Gotcha.
that was. So not a lot happened in week one or day one, excuse me. And then we went to a place called Big Woods. And by the way, I should tell you this really quick: is
Hmm.
in Indianapolis, every fucking street in the metropolitan area, they take their racing so seriously. Like, I'm
Hmm.
not even exaggerating. Like, if let's say, you know how it would be like, let's say Orchard Park, New York, or Buffalo, New York. You know how I'm saying it
Yeah.
like that? So imagine this. So it would be something like Speedway, Indiana, or Track, Indiana, things like that. Like, and
Hmm.
these are named after towns. The towns are named after key words from racing because
Gotcha.
they're home. They're the home of the racing capital of the world, which is Indy 500, which I'll get to shortly. We went to a place called Big Woods, and they make really good meals. It's like a big log cabin. So
Okay.
we were able to have dinner there. Got myself a Hoosier Red beer. It was really good. I say that. It's one of the sweeter beers I had.
Hmm.
And then they didn't really have a food item that was exclusive like the Seattle dog or Buffalo wings. Their big thing was donuts, and I said I'm not doing that shit.
Yeah.
So I get a burger. I'm just enjoying myself, and then we go home. We settle down for the day. And then day two got very interesting. Day two was more of we went to the Indy 500. I actually got to go on the track. Like, do you watch racing?
I do, and there are like not all the time, but I do watch it. And definitely one of the races I like to watch every year is the Indy 500. And then of course there are other races I do like to watch within NASCAR itself. Like obviously Daytona is one of the big ones that I'll always catch. And then there are a few others that I'll typically catch too, like the finals and all that. But Indy, of course, gotta watch that.
Oh yeah. And the nice thing was is I was actually 10 minutes from where everything was. So
Hmm.
Britt and I really coordinated this trip really nicely. But the Indy 500, and the reason I bring this up is because we actually went to the race course where all those big races take place, like
Nice.
NASCAR and the Indy 500 and all that.
Yeah.
That goes in from May to October. It's just cars going at 200 miles per hour. Like,
Yep.
how many
I was
laps?
gonna say you get to kiss the bricks.
Yes, I got to kiss the bricks, and I got to
Nice.
stand on the finish line or the start line, whatever you call it, and I got to see that pole where the person is waving the flag and
Yep.
they tell the drivers, start your engines and all that job. It
Yep.
was cool. We were
Very
there
cool.
for about maybe 10, 15 minutes, and we got a chance to get pictures and things like that. It was really cool overall. The tour was about maybe 40 minutes long, so we got to go around the entire track on a bus, and then they took us all the way to that whatever that tower is at the track. I forget what it's
Hmm.
called. It's like a glass building, and I think that's where like the media sits and all that jazz. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, probably taking a media room or something like that.
Yeah, I forget the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about though, right?
Hmm.
That big glass tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we saw that, and then we saw a little sign that said the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum, and it said the racing capital of the world. And I said that was pretty cool. Like, I'm not a racing guy, I have
Hmm.
no idea how it works, but to actually do that and go into actual like state history, I think it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, definitely. And the fun part about it is, I mean, Indy, it's been a huge thing for a long time. I mean, even when we went to Arrowhead, going back a couple years, remember when we saw the Kansas Speedway, like right when we were outside that Cabela's, how huge that thing was?
Yeah, but we didn't go inside though. We just drove by it.
Right, right. But it was still cool. You know, we were right near there. But yeah, and of course, the Bills get a good win in Indy, so now they're 8-2. It's not even close in the division. The Bills have like a 4 game lead right now, so
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
and yeah, the AFC East is ass.
oh yeah, for sure. What I was saying before was is after we did the Speedway, we went to the Indianapolis Zoo, and that was a how do I say this? That was a very interesting experience. Have you ever seen a grown ass man touch a kangaroo in the ass?
Uh, no, but I'm not sure if I want to.
Well, let's put it this way. I actually got to touch a Joey,
Oh fuck.
and you know
Do I
what?
even want to know about that?
Well, it's kind of too late because I already said it.
Yeah.
But no, the Joey was cool. Like, it was just a kangaroo. because it was remember that pathway we're supposed to do a
Yeah.
year ago in Cincinnati,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a kangaroo path and it never got through because the power went out at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just did that track in Indianapolis, and there were like 30, 40 kangaroos in there,
Wow.
and I got shit on by a cockatoo, and I got to touch a kangaroo's butt. So, yeah, that was a very interesting experience.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so here's something else that you should also mention is after we got home from the zoo, and it was still about 3 hours we did it, we saw all the animals, including a walrus, which you never hear about
Mm-hmm.
because they're probably the only zoo I can think of that at least has it. But yeah, the walrus was were cool and all that, but we settled down. We took a shower. We went to Tin Roof, by the way, which you recommended to me, but unfortunately, we didn't really get a chance to go inside the bar.
Gotcha.
Sal Capaccio was there, but the place was just packed. There
Mm-hmm.
was just no way for us to get inside, and I really wanted to do it, but I said, you know what? If we got there earlier, we would have
Yeah.
no doubt got a spot at the event or whatever. But the nice thing was we went to a place called Sauce on the Side, which I don't know exactly what it's called. Maybe you can help me out here. Is the name of the stadium for the Indiana Pacers? You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
That's what it was. The Gainbridge Fieldhouse. That's how little I know about basketball. So, Sauce on the Side, the restaurant is across the street from that stadium, and there was
Mm-hmm.
a concert going on. And I got
Nice.
asked, "Oh, is there a basketball game going on?" And I said, "I have no fucking clue." So I
Right.
kind of just left it with a grain of salt. So I had a calzone. It was really, really good. But
Mm-hmm.
the funny part I wanted to get to was, um, we went to the Indians and Soldiers Monument Circle, but
Mm-hmm.
before that happened, we were walking down the same pathway where Tin Roof was, and I actually got to meet the owner of Fans of Buffalo. You know that company?
Yes, I have heard about that, and they had a big tailgate out in Indy as well, which is what led to you drinking from the boot.
Yes. So I ended up grabbing a page from A Christmas Story.
Yep.
Fragile. They gave me the fucking they gave me the fucking
What
bootleg.
kind of alcohol did they give you in there?
They just gave me regular like Budweiser or something like
Ah,
that.
okay.
It was like a half a pint. Like they gave me, dude. They
Nice.
literally, like, dude. They gave me a fucking pitcher, a whole of beer, right? A whole pint because they don't want to
Hmm.
get the person sick or whatever.
Yeah.
So what they did was they shoved the pitcher down the leg, the prosthetic, and it was
Uh-huh.
yeah, it was a red, white, and blue sock with a football cleat on it, and
Nice.
they put beer in the fucking leg. So they see me. I'm doing this with my phone. I'm recording for Road to 32, and I meet the owner in that segment. He's the one that gave me the leg, and he says, "Hey, yo, you want to take a shot?" And I said, "I'm not a big alcohol guy, but I'm willing to do it." And as soon as
Yes.
they heard that from me, they said, "Go get the leg! Go get the leg!" And the next thing you know, I'm taking the fucking leg and I'm going like this. I'm
Yep.
leaning back and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
shoving it all in my throat. Like it's insane. So we
Dude.
legitimately, I just took that whole thing. Took me about 15 seconds to chug that whole thing down,
Hmm.
and I was just giving out high fives and all that
Yeah.
jazz.
I will tell you, if I ever run into that, hell yeah, I'm chugging that damn boot. So I will tell you that straight up.
So that's one thing I could certainly say on my list that I was able to do.
Yes, yes. Although, if you do come back to Buffalo at some point, which I know you will, I do have to take you to Hofbrauhaus and you gotta drink the liter of beer. So,
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. I'm definitely coming back to Buffalo, but I'm waiting on the
nice.
new stadium. So
Yeah,
that,
and that's going up real quick too, because I do want to take a ride out by there one of these days. Just I haven't really been out there since last year, and when we went to the Dallas game, I just don't get out that way that often. And especially now where I live, I'm even further from the stadium, so that's kind of that. But it is what it is. But I'll definitely have to take a ride out sometime. So, but yeah,
yeah,
awesome to hear that things went well, and definitely it was fun doing the ride out to Seattle as well. I mean, and for me it was a little bit different. It only took just about 5 hours for me to fly from Detroit to Seattle. I had to go Buffalo, Detroit, Seattle. And Buffalo to Detroit's only like an hour and 10 minutes usually at the most. I mean, actually, my flight back was only 39 minutes, so that wasn't too bad. But at one point, though, I was looking at the flights at the flight tracker that's on the screen on the plane, and at one point we were at, I think it was like 33,000 something feet, and we were flying like 628 miles an hour. So I'm like, damn, that ain't bad. But I will do want to give a couple shout outs. Of course, obviously, our Airbnb hosts in Seattle, Jan and Dabro, they were great. Delta Airlines, great flights, good service, of course, as well. Definitely also want to give a shout out to Alamo. We were able to get in and out super quick and no issues with the car, although I did get the $10 toll bill for going through the tunnel earlier this week. So, yeah, so guess what? It was like a $3.50 toll, and then like almost like a $9 service fee for not having the toll tags. So I'm like, oh, that's great, but whatever. But it got us where we needed to go, and then basically with that to all the cool people, Seattle, and then of course the people you met in Indy, definitely enjoy it. So I know we're almost at the top of the hour already, but we still got stuff to talk about. So let's jump into it this week with the Bills and the Chiefs here in Buffalo, and all I can say, it is going to be a good matchup. But the problem right now we have to still worry about is that we're still depleted in many ways. I mean, of course, now the knee injury with Kincaid. We also still have to worry about Coleman. Still have to worry about Amari Cooper. So you're down several legitimate threats, and then on top of it, defensively, we still at least we have Jordan Poyer and of course, shit, I just lost the name. Quentin.
Jordan Poyer.
Oh no, not Jordan Poyer. Jordan Phillips.
Jordan Phillips, yeah. Quentin Jefferson and Jordan Phillips are coming
Yeah,
back.
Quentin Jefferson. So that'll be good at least. And then of course Matt Milano entered the practice window, so at least that's good. But he's not going to be playing this week.
I actually saw them play on Sunday.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Right now, Kansas City is lucky they haven't lost yet. They are lucky.
Yeah, well, their schedule is like mad weak, and people are gonna say, "Oh, but the Bills' schedule is very weak." I'm like, "Yeah, this is coming from the same people who told us the Jets and the Dolphins were gonna be better than the Bills statistically and on paper." You remember that shit?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, why don't you retire already? Go grow a ayahuasca farm or something.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, dude. But as far as that game goes, I'm cautiously optimistic about the game, but at the same time, I do want to see the Bills succeed. They've been kind of running into some issues with injuries lately on offense, with Spencer Brown being down,
Yeah,
Dalton Kincaid with an knee injury. Matt Milano's 21-day window has been open, but he's not going to play this week, which is probably for the best, even though we want him back that bad.
right.
Amari Cooper is questionable, which is good. He was limited. No Keon Coleman again for the second straight game.
Right.
You know what really pisses me off is people have actually been saying that the whole Keon Coleman trade has been a complete bust because he's
It
been
has
injured.
not been a bust.
They're only just saying that just so they have a talking point. I'm like,
Right. He's been playing well in the snaps he's been in.
right. But the problem is that he got very limited amount of snaps against the Seahawks, which was
Right.
very noticeable. And then he didn't even play in, I think, the last two games. One was against Miami. He didn't play in that game, and he didn't play against Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So those two games, the Bills' offense still put up 30 points.
Right. And you're down all these weapons. Well, Miami is just ass this year. I mean, and here is, oh, Mike McDaniel. Oh, we're the shit. We're the shit. Yeah. Obviously, you're not.
Which explains why he's so unlikable.
Yeah, exactly. Freaking coach wannabe.
Yeah, really. I don't even think he lasts until next season. I really don't.
I think he's done, honestly, because I mean the way that they're going right now, I mean they were expected to play well. Everybody figured out Tua. Everybody figured out that offense. Everybody figured the limitations that Miami has on defense. I mean, they are probably one of the most predictable teams that you can go against. Even
You
though
want to talk?
Mike McDaniel says, "Oh, we're so unpredictable. We do everything so differently." No, you don't. Everybody figured you out.
You want to talk about predictability? The Dolphins actually waived David Long Jr. today.
Yeah. Yeah, we all knew that was coming.
Watch the Bills pick him up as just a way of saying, "Thanks, Miami. You're a bitch."
Yeah. And watch, he'll actually play well here.
That would be great if the Bills pick him
It
up,
would
but
be.
it would be grateful too. How about release Quentin Jefferson, or if he's not a linebacker, I think he's a defensive end. Yeah. So how about this? Maybe just as like rotation wise, maybe replace Dorian Williams as a secondary guy, maybe as a backup because Dorian has really been one of the best linebackers on the
Yeah,
Bills, and give Bernard some help. Don't overload him. Get someone like David Long who would probably fit right into the system.
right, exactly. And you do that, you have depth, you have another starter, you're good to go.
Basically. But as far as Kansas City goes, I'm cautiously optimistic about the game. And I know the regular season, I would be fine with them taking the L in the regular season, but more importantly, I want to see them succeed in the playoffs. That's what I want to see.
Right. Exactly. And as long as we can, great. It is what it is. But the one thing is, I mean, even though Kansas City has been struggling, they have been finding ways to win, whether it's on their offense, whether it's on their defense, whether it's special teams. They just find ways to win. But at the same time, you have to overload Mahomes and make sure that he does not have time to make decisions. And as long as you do that, maybe you run an overload blitz, maybe you end up running maybe you double team to an extent, or maybe you run stunts, things like that. If you can make sure that he's off focus and he doesn't have time to do anything within the pocket and you surround him, you're fine. You cannot give him time to do anything. And basically, it's like one of those things. If you're giving Mahomes like 3 seconds in the pocket, he's going to make a play. That's why you gotta be quick and you gotta overload it.
Yeah, the same can be said for Josh Allen. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are almost in the same category where, let's face it, these two guys are basically the face of the NFL.
Hmm.
I mean, if you look at their statistics side by side, Josh Allen is better statistically right now than Patrick Mahomes,
Right, he is, and he's second most rushing touchdowns behind O.J. Simpson for the Bills. What does that tell you?
which is crazy to me. But
Yeah,
but I do think that this is going to be a heavyweight fight. It's going to be a really good game. And plus,
definitely.
if I read this correctly, if the Bills beat the Chiefs on Sunday, they're going to win the AFC East for the fifth year in a row.
Yeah, and you know what? It won't even be close this time.
No,
The
not
whole
even.
division sucks ass this year. I mean,
Yeah, the
the Jets right now are in second place, and where are they? 3-7
3-6. Yeah,
or
something
three and
crazy like
six?
that. 3-7. Yeah, and that's coming from a
What
team
the
that lost to
fuck
the
is
fucking
that?
Cardinals. They lost to the Patriots a few weeks ago, and they lost to the goddamn Cardinals.
Oh God.
And the Cardinals are their leading division winners in the NFC West.
Oh
What does that
God.
tell you?
That is nuts.
What does that tell you?
Yeah, they suck.
Jesus Christ, Jets. And yeah, they have a game against the Colts on Sunday with Anthony Richardson back in the front line.
Ooh. Yeah, I was gonna say, how'd you enjoy watching that pick six that Flacco threw on like the first possession?
Funny you say that because I actually caught that on tape.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I caught the interception, the pick six from Taron Johnson. I caught the James Cook what's it called? I caught the James Cook touchdown when he went into the end zone and he made the flip. I got that, and then I got one more piece of footage that I have on my phone. And you'll see it when Road 32 gets released, but
Yeah,
it's not going to come out for another couple of days.
gotcha. Yeah, but you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing how things went out there. But all together, it was a great time out in the West Coast, and it was nice to be back out there for the first time in probably 2 decades almost. I mean, the furthest I had ever gone west was Idaho, and there is some beautiful country. But I will tell you, Washington State has some beautiful scenery there, and they're proud of that, and they should be. I mean, it's definitely it was a great time, and I gotta say, Din Tai Fung, the one place I ordered from DoorDash the night that you guys got the burger, that was actually some really damn good eating. So I was in the mood for some Chinese food. I got it from there. They make some damn good stuff, and really enjoyed the chicken fried rice I had too. So with that, I know we're actually a little bit past the top of the hour. So of course, welcome again to Buffalo After Dark. We're doing some OT tonight. So of course, you got Hanson, you got myself. I'm in my new digs. We're finally back. And if you want to call in, we still have some hockey to talk about. So 92920560099 will get you on the air. We'll go to probably till about 9:30 or so. And of course, any comments that you want to share, by all means, go ahead and do so. But with that being said, let's jump into hockey because one of the things we wanted to talk about as we go forward is the 2024 Hockey Hall of Fame class is being inducted, and basically right now we have the candidates for 2025.
Yeah, so the 2024 class is officially inducted into the Hall of Fame, including guys like Jeremy Roenick and Shea Weber. Those guys are in the Hall of Fame, and a bunch of other executives and women's hockey players. But mainly the ones that were in there were Shea Weber and Jeremy Roenick. Honestly, I think this draft class in general is not draft class. This Hall of Fame class in general was probably one of the weakest I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wasn't super thrilled with it, but I was happy for Jeremy Roenick and I was happy for Shea
Right.
Weber to get into the Hall. So I'll say that.
Yeah, Weber I definitely wanted in. Ronick definitely deserves it. Other than that, it just nothing thrills me about this class.
It really hasn't. And it's guys I've either never heard of or executives that I don't know have no like jurisdiction into it, but I don't know. But yeah, so the NHL Network actually came out with a list of notable first year eligible players that are eligible to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame or they're eligible to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame starting next season in 2025, and usually the Hall of Fame class gets announced in mid-July. So let's go over that list, shall we?
Yep, let's
It's
do it.
not, and we have names on this list, and these are all guys that we grew up watching. Guys like Joe Thornton, Duncan Keith, Carey Price, Zdeno Chara, Big Z,
Yep,
uh,
he
Ryan
deserves it.
Getzlav, yep, Ryan Getzlav, Tuukka Rask, Dustin Brown, and Eric Stahl are all eligible for the Hall of Fame in 2025.
So you know what? I like those picks. I really do. Chara absolutely, I think gets in.
As
Tuukka
much as I
Rask,
hate him.
yeah, same here. Tuukka Rask, I think he gets in because he won those cups with the Boston Bruins. Great goaltender for the time he was there. Honestly, next the 2025 class stands out way more than the 2024.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's
I
not
think
even
if anybody,
close.
yeah, I agree. But I think if there's anybody on this list that deserves to get into the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, is there's at least four guys on here. I'm gonna say definitely Joe Thornton. He definitely deserves to get
Hmm.
in.
Yeah, great
Duncan
player.
Keith.
Hmm.
Duncan Keith definitely. Um, I'm gonna say Big Z gets in for sure.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a no-brainer.
Hell, I would even make the argument for Dustin Brown. I mean, he's the only guy that ever hoisted the cup twice.
Right. And that's a true point, and definitely with the fact that he did do that, I could see that happening. I think Big Z by far absolutely gets in.
Oh yeah, look, as much as I shit on Big Z, or as much as I used to shit on him, he is
Hmm.
a hell of a hockey player.
Yeah, great defenseman, and definitely one of the best that I remember seeing.
Definitely. But you know what's really interesting about hockey, or in any sport for that matter, is let's say, for example, I'm going to use Tom Brady for example.
Hmm.
When Tom Brady was on the Patriots for 20 plus years,
I
obviously
fucking
everybody
hated
knows
him.
that. Yeah, exactly. We all hated Tom Brady. And then he went to the Bucks and he won a Super Bowl in Tampa. He then later retires. And now he's like that cool uncle. He's doing games on Fox
Hmm.
with, all those, getting paid a lot of money to do what he does,
Yeah.
in commentary. The same thing applies to Tony Romo. Tony Romo was never a Hall of Famer by any means. He was a good quarterback for the Cowboys. But
Hmm.
then once he retired, everyone started to show some sort of appreciation for him when he became a analyst. The same thing is happening with Brady. Like you can hate the guy all you want, but you can't not deny his talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And our friend Brad from Louisville is in the chat, and he said McDaniel's is nearly a prime example of why you don't let a knowledge knowledge fan become head coach.
Miami Dolphins in that case, or
Oh, they
like
fucked up.
math is stupid according to them.
Yeah,
Math is stupid.
yeah,
But
exactly. But
but
kind of coming
it
back to the hockey side, though.
but I do think though those four guys I listed, Thornton, Keith, Big Z, and Dustin Brown, in my opinion, are first ballot Hall of Famers.
Yeah, Yeah, I agree. I mean, I definitely think they get in, and and good for them because I mean they played hard for a lot of years, and certainly they deserve it. So,
Yeah.
so with that as well too, we did have some trades that came up during the time that we were gone. One of the most recent ones was actually with the Seattle Kraken of all teams. Daniel Sprong gets traded back to the Seattle Kraken for future considerations, meaning they get nothing.
Which is stupid. He doesn't really cost much anyway, so it's not like
Right.
Vancouver. It's not
Give
like
him a
Vancouver
pick or
was gonna.
something.
Yeah, it's not like the Canucks were giving up like a third or fourth rounder for him or anything like that. But
Yeah.
it's just funny how things work. You know what I mean? Like in some sort of fashion. But the other thing too that also came out was Lars Eller was traded last night. He was traded from the Pittsburgh Penguins to the Washington Capitals. Oh, Jesus Christ.
So let's talk about this one. So, of course, a lot of people could see that there were going to be some trades coming. Eller is the first, I would say, the first of probably several that we're going to start seeing. And yet, the thing is, the Penguins come out and they talk about, oh, we're not rebuilding, we're not doing anything. Bullshit, you're rebuilding.
Yeah, Darren Dreger actually made a comment about this. He said, according to Darren Dreger, Insider Trading, he says there will be no fire sale in Pittsburgh, and there is, quote, no panic at the moment. GM Kyle Dubas has called general managers and let them know that he's open to talk, but that is common practice what your team is struggling. But yet, this fucking moron trades Lars Eller to one of their biggest rivals.
Right. So then on top of that, not only do you trade him to one of your biggest rivals, you're basically telling everybody, "Hey, we're open to business. We're going to trade we have everybody up except for Crosby."
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Why?
So, how about this? Paul Bissonnette said it best. Do the hockey world a favor. Put Sid the Kid on the Avalanche.
That actually would not be a bad thing.
Well, think about it. You're pairing him with Mikko Rantanen and Gabriel Landeskog and Nathan McKinnon.
Ooh, that would be a deadly combo.
The two Nova Scotia kids. I think
Yeah.
that would be a crazy ass line.
Oh,
If you
Colorado
would
would
have,
easily be in the playoffs big time, and they would make a really deep run, if not possibly win it all.
I would think that too. But and then having Mikhail and then having Kale McCarr on your blue line. Oh my God.
Hmm.
The only grudge on Colorado is their goaltending is horrible.
Right. But man, if you can shore up that line, whew, that would be a very interesting Western Conference.
Oh yeah, like the again, the Avs are a very good team on paper,
Yeah.
but Alex Georgiev is not what he was hyped to be when he first got traded from Colorado. I mean,
Right.
from the Rangers to Colorado, excuse me. But again, if you look at the standings right now, just conference wise, Colorado right now, and as we speak, as of November 14th, Colorado is within one spot out of the last wild card spot in the Western Conference,
Yeah.
and they are 8-8 with 16 points in 16 points in 16 games. So that's literally NFL record standards right there. And they're
Right.
1 point behind Edmonton. But again, it's so goddamn early. You can't even dictate the playoffs or at least get an idea about it until
Hmm.
at least late November, early to
Right.
mid-December. That's the most you would get.
Yeah.
You would probably have a better understanding about the records of who's going to make the playoffs potentially right around Christmas time.
Yeah, exactly. And then just to think about it, I mean, Eller gets traded at Caps for by the Penguins for 2 picks. I think it's just only the start in terms of what they're going to do. But even to talk about a couple of the other things, of course, guess who is out again for weeks due to injury on the Buffalo Sabres? It is Matthias Samuelson. Again.
Big flippin' surprise.
Exactly. Just
You know
trade his
what's
ass
really,
already.
yeah, you know what's really funny too is you want to hear something really dumb.
What's that?
Okay, so all right, I'm glad you heard that part. But so reports were coming out that the Sabres and Kevin Adams, it's been reported that he's looking around the league for some offensive help, which is fine. I'm okay with
Sure.
this.
Yeah, do it.
However, he's targeting the wrong guy. Did you hear who he's talking about?
So fill us in.
They're talking about bringing back Taylor Hall.
Why?
Uh, because Chicago is horrible and Buffalo needs help in the offensive line. They need help on their top six. Like I don't
He
understand
didn't do
this.
shit for us the last time he was here.
And they had Jack Eichel, and they had
Exactly. And he still
Reinhardt.
couldn't do anything.
So why on God's green earth would you entertain this idea to begin with?
I sure as hell wouldn't. I mean, right now, you actually have a couple decent options for your top line. Don't screw with it.
Well, they're already talking about trading Dylan Cousins to the Flyers.
He hasn't done a whole lot recently,
Well, what my
but
motto is
then
always,
at the same time, maybe if you switch him to one of the wings, maybe that might actually help him with something.
isn't he naturally a winger?
As far as I know, he is, and yet they've had him playing at center.
Yeah, honestly, I think how they're doing this and how they're structuring the team is
Hmm.
not only flabbergasting, but it's so backwards because it's like you're trying to move forward, but while also going backwards. Like,
Right.
how do you transcribe that? So, you think Taylor Hall is going to somehow be the answer to your offense? Like,
No,
come on.
definitely
Like,
not.
no, and you know what? I disagree with the idea of bringing back Taylor Hall because he didn't want to be there to begin with. So it's like if you didn't want to be there in the first place, why would you then
Yeah.
entertain the idea
Yeah.
of bringing him back there in the first place?
Exactly.
Why would Taylor Hall even entertain this?
Yeah, I would not bring him back. I would not even think about that idea. I mean, there's so many. There's others you can go after, but not Taylor Hall. That is a wrong person to target. He didn't do anything here the first time. He ain't gonna do anything a second time. And he was so happy to get out of here. I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't either. The other team I heard that Taylor Hall's being connected to are are the Devils. New Jersey is the other team that's linked to Taylor
Well,
Hall.
that would make more
Again,
sense. But then again, it's like he already had his time there.
the biggest issue with Taylor Hall is ever since he was traded from New Jersey, he became a journeyman. Like he's a serviceable player.
Hmm.
There's two problems. He's 32 years old and he's injury prone.
Right.
He hasn't had 100 points since he was with New Jersey. And keep in mind, when he won the Hart Trophy 6 years ago in
Hmm.
2018 with the Devils, he is the only candidate, and you can look this up. He's the only candidate on that list to ever not hit 100 points
Yeah.
while winning the Hart Trophy.
Yeah. It's unacceptable.
How the fuck is that possible? How is Taylor Hall still in the NHL? Like, yeah, he could put the puck in the net. Like, yes, he's a good veteran winger to have, but how does that justify that young offense?
Right.
How does that justify anything? It would make more sense if you go to Philadelphia and you say, "Hey, we want Joel Fabry. Hey, we want Morgan Frost, or someone like that." Or hell, Scott Lawton would have been a fine idea. But why the fuck are they entertaining the idea about Taylor Hall? I
Yeah.
don't get it. New Jersey is in the same argument. New Jersey does not need Taylor Hall. They have three solid lines of
Right.
good
Yeah.
forwards.
Jersey's in good shape, which actually, we gotta have Rob on here again one of these days and fill us in about what's happening down in Jersey. He hasn't been on in a while.
He'll probably cry like a bitch and he'll say something like, the Devils are not going to be that good this year.
They're fine. There's nothing to worry about there. I mean, there's other teams that are in way worse shape than the Devils right now.
He's a doomer gloomer guy
Yeah.
so early in the fucking year. But
Right.
he did get to see the Sharks play the Devils the other day.
There you go. Yeah, Marco Celebrini, first goal.
Yeah, he was there for that. So,
Yep. Yep, just like when I was in Pittsburgh for Ali Mata's first goal when he was playing in his rookie season. So I remember seeing that, which it's always fun seeing the first ever. But yeah, real quick on the stats before we talk about the hot start with the Jets, and this will actually lead right into it. How about Connor Hellebuck at a 1.92 goals against right now?
that's pretty damn
That's
incredible.
that's really good.
That's basically giving up one goal per night.
Yeah, I mean that's one reason that the Winnipeg's off to a strong start.
It's crazy. And we just saw them play a few weeks ago, not knowing how
Yeah.
good they truly were
And
going
they
to
got
be.
blown out by Vancouver. Or actually, no. Wait a minute. So I'm just trying to make sure I don't mix up the games. So when we were okay, yep, I was mixing it up. So when we were in Seattle, we watched, of course, Winnipeg come back and win in overtime. When we were in Vancouver, we ended up watching them blow out the Pens.
Well, it wasn't necessarily a blowout. It was a massacre in the second period, but
Yeah,
it was a lot closer than people
yeah,
suspected. But
and Ned was playing like shit.
and you know what? This comment of the Jets which by the way, their record is 15-1, which is the best start in NHL history to this day, which is
Mhm.
fucking crazy.
It
Think
is.
about that. And just a few months ago, over the summer, remember when I threw that bitch fit about them hiring Scott
Hmm.
Arniel?
Yeah.
Boy, was I wrong.
They actually won the last seven in a row.
And you know what, too? I can admit a real man admits when he's wrong.
Right.
I was wrong about Scott Arniel. I was wrong about how the Jets were going to be run because
Hmm.
I was so accustomed to the Jets having one great year. Then the following year, they
Yeah.
hit the bed and they just shit all over the mattress.
Right.
And then they go back up. Then they go back down. Then they go back up.
Yeah.
And then they go back down. It's the same fucking story for the last half decade with the Jets.
Right. Yeah. How about this? 8-1 at home. They're 7-0 on the road. 9-1-0 in the last 10 games. 7 straight wins. And for take a guess at how much for a goal differential right now. It's absolutely crazy.
At least 6 or 7.
Oh, way more than that. Plus 39 differential.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, the next closest, New Jersey. Well, New Jersey is at 11-6, and they have a plus 16 differential. So Rob, don't bitch about the Devils. They're actually playing really well right now overall. But really, when I look at the stats and who has like the next highest differential, Carolina at plus 23, and they're 11-3 right now.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. But then let's talk about what was absolute horseshit the other day. The Sabres losing to the Canadians, and the Canadians have a minus 21 goal differential right now.
That is not good in any circumstance.
No.
And how the Sabres lost to the Canadians for the billionth
They
time, I
played
have
down to
no
them.
idea.
They played down.
Why is it that? Weren't the Sabres just on a 3-game win streak?
They were. They were. And basically now they're in 21st overall at 7-8-1. So I mean they're not complete ass like they were this time last year, but at the same time it's like you guys had a good win streak going and you played down to a shitty team. The only team that's worse right now is Nashville at 5-9-2, but the thing is that they basically out of everything, Montreal has the win whereas Nashville ends up giving up one in overtime, so of course Montreal has the extra point.
You know what's crazy about Nashville? Think of all the moves they made in the offseason. Getting Jonathan
Yeah,
Marchessault, getting Brady Shady Shea, and then getting Steven Stamkos. The
right.
Nashville
And they
Predators,
have
I think,
Trotz running
yeah,
everything,
as general
and
manager.
they're absolute crap right now.
You know where they are right now?
The basement.
They are way down there. So yeah, Nashville, as we speak of November 14th, 16 games have been played thus far. They're 5-9-2 with 12 points, and their percentage rating is .375. They're
Yeah,
telling me that you're giving up more than 3 goals per game with
right.
future Hall of Famers on your team. But here's the thing. Barry Trotz invested into 3 or 4 players that are all in their mid 30s that are on the fringe of decline,
Hmm.
and you're telling everybody you're going to be cup contenders this year? Yeah, you know who's worse than you? Fucking Montreal. Think
Yeah,
about that.
exactly. That is bad.
Montreal is worse than you. Nashville is worse than you.
Right.
Columbus, okay, Columbus is an exception because Columbus, they lost Johnny Gaudreau, may he rest in peace,
Yeah.
but they need structure. They have
Yeah.
to start over. So
Right.
I'll give
They
Columbus
lost
a
a
pass.
huge chunk of their offense when Goudreau died.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Columbus a pass this year, but it doesn't excuse the rest of the team. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? I'm
Exactly.
gonna give them a pass.
Exactly. And then, at least with right now, the Sabres are not in the basement. They're sitting in 21st. They're actually ahead of Seattle, which, of course, we got to see Bielma blow one in overtime when we were there.
Yeah, and they're
Um,
they're a point ahead of Philadelphia, and
yeah,
they're tied for fourth with Tampa.
yeah. And Utah is actually ahead of us, which their jerseys do go on sale this week. So,
Their jerseys go on sale this week.
yeah, Utah Hockey Club jerseys go on sale this week.
Huh, it took them long enough.
Yep, exactly. I might pick one up just for hell of it, but for right now, the Sabres do have a positive goal differential. They're at +2, so it's less than what they had. They need to figure it out. And I mean, and simple. Move Cousins to the wing. That's his natural spot. That'll help that line, and just rearrange where you need to be. But obviously, we needed to get some offensive help. Taylor Hall is not the guy. We need to strengthen our defensive core. And Matthias Samuelson, get rid of him already because he is so injury prone. He is like freaking glass. He has been out every single year for a significant time ever since he came into this league. I mean, at this point, cut him.
Unfortunately, they can't cut him because he just signed 2 years ago.
Fuck. So we're stuck.
And they're stuck. Well, I actually want to see how long his contract is because I could tell you the Sabres are going to be stuck with that contract for a little while.
Yeah, and it's not going to be a good thing either.
No, it's not. So let
yeah.
me actually get the team for you. Because I'm not used to using Puckpedia, but here we go. Buffalo Sabres. This is what I want to see. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. No, that's just injuries. Never mind that part.
Yeah, it is a lower
So
body injury if anyone's been wondering.
it's fucking insane, really. But
Again.
yeah, again, are you surprised?
It's, nope. As I kind of figured this would happen.
Ah, fuck. Okay. You want to know Mateus Anderson's buyout relief?
Yeah, it's not good.
He doesn't have one.
Yeah, again, not good.
Yeah, he has no. Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, if Matthias Samuelson is bought out prior to the 2025 season, 2025-26 season, so if Matthias Samuelson is bought out, not this coming season, the following year, 2026, the Sabres would have a total remaining salary of $21.428 million. But for the remaining of his contract, the Sabres would have to owe him $7.5 million for the next 10 years.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's how fucking bad this is. And his cap hit is 4.25 million, and his contract does not expire until 2030 when he's 30 years old.
Oh, God. So, yeah, Billy Leno 2.0.
Yeah, this is literally the worst contract I've seen in a while. Like, I don't even like I don't care if the Sabres buy him out. It's the fact that if listen, I'm open to the idea of trading him,
Right,
but it's
at
gonna
least get something for him.
the problem is it's going to be extremely difficult to do that because not many teams are willing to talk to the Sabres and they're going to say, hey, we're going to take your injury prone defenseman off your hands. They're not going to do that.
Right.
They're not going to sugarcoat that.
And then on top of it, you know that as part of any trade deal, they're going to probably want the Sabres to retain salary and probably retain up to 50% of it. So then you're still stuck anyways.
Well, fuck them. The Sabres still have $7.5 million to play with, and money wise, they have enough to bring in another offensive, playmaker. When they're top nine forward,
Right.
they have a chance to do it. But the problem is that Sammy's contract is not ending until 2030. So if they have to buy him out, then Jesus fucking
Yeah,
Christ,
you still got 6 years.
Jesus Christ, I don't even know what to
Oy.
say. So, and you know what? I'm willing to bet you that half of the Sabres core that's currently on the team will not be here within at least 3 years. I'm willing to bet you the only players that are safe on the team right now is Tage Thompson.
Yeah.
Tage Thompson in UPL and Rasmus Dahlin. Those guys to me are the three key guys that can stay. Like Dahlin is safe. He's fine.
Yeah.
But as far as everybody else, they're movable. And the nice thing too about all their contracts that Adam signed their contracts to is they're all making around $7 million, except Dolly.
Right. So at least on a good note, it doesn't totally kill the cap, which is
No.
a big plus. And Adams was smart in doing that. But at the same time, I mean, it's a problem.
Yeah. And put it this way, Jordan Greenway is a UFA after this year. Same with Jason Zucker. And Nicholas Obol-Cabell is also a UFA. And we also have Henry Yokiharu as a free agent this year. Jacob Bryson is a UFA this year. And Dennis Gilbert is a UFA this year.
I'm surprised Yoki was still here.
Joker is a joke, honestly. He's been on the team for like 5 years. The thing is, Joker is only 25.
Right.
He's 25, and he's been on the Sabres for the majority of his career. And the guy was not even drafted, not even 10 years ago.
Yeah, what does that tell you?
It tells me that his play style, it was such a bottom roll hire. I remember when they traded Alex Nylander, I think he was in the third year of his contract.
Yeah.
And I remember this because I was working that day, and it was a hot summer day, And I remember getting the news in mid-July that Alex Nylander got traded to the Blackhawks for Henry Jokiharju. And I had to ask myself, I'm like, who the fuck is this? So I did some research and I said, that guy was drafted in the first round a few years ago. But listen, just because you were drafted in the first round, it doesn't automatically make you like a top tier NHL player.
Right, and we've seen that happen before. I mean, do you want me to go over the one example that I can bring up during the Darcy Regier era?
Oh God, please tell me. Marek Zagrapan, is that what you're gonna say?
Well, that's one bad example, but besides Marek Zagrapan, you want to take another guess at who I'm thinking of?
Dennis Pearson?
No, although he sucked too.
He didn't really play. That's the problem.
Right.
There's a lot of examples. Tim Kennedy?
He was good when he was healthy.
I'm not sure who.
Um,
Wait, you don't know either?
it's funny, my mind just went blank. I will say
You
I
were
will say
saying
this.
who was
Remember who we had in the first round? We ended up burning the entry level contract on, and then he went to the KHL and still sucked.
Oh, Grigorenko.
Yes, Mikhail Grigorenko.
Oh God. I had so much and we talked about him in the past. I had
Oh
so
yeah,
much hype on
we've
Gregor.
shit on him so much in the past too.
I was so hyped about Grigorenko because he was supposed to go in the top three in 2012. That
Yeah,
was probably the worst draft class in my lifetime.
ever. Yeah,
Oh
that
God.
was bad. And we thought Tim Murray was bad at doing a lot of draft picks and doing some fantasy trades. Oh God,
Yeah,
Mikhail
who could have been charged?
Grigorenko. Oh
God.
shit.
I'm actually looking back on that draft class right now just to kind of see the results. Who was the best player on that class? Okay, there's some noticeable names on here. Morgan Riley, he's
Okay,
on this
he was good.
list. Yeah, Morgan Riley. Jacob Trouba, he was
He's
drafted
good.
ninth overall. He turned into a great player. Philip Forsberg was one pick after Grigorenko.
And here's the thing: Forsberg is a good player.
Yeah, I don't know if he would have turned that way like he did in Washington. I don't think so.
Right.
Let's see. Tom Wilson, Tomas Hertl, Teuvo Teravainen, Andrei Vasilevsky, who was hands down the best player in this
Yeah.
draft, in the first round at least. Let's see. Brady Shea's on here. Tanner Pearson's on
Yeah.
here. The last pick in 2012 by LA in the first round. Um, there's a lot of minor leaguers. Jake McCabe's on here.
Yeah.
Um, Teddy Bluger's on here. Fuck. Jordan Martinook. God
Yeah.
damn.
I mean,
Dude.
there were some really good players in that draft. And
Yeah,
yet,
Jonas Corposello. He was drafted in the third round.
yeah, another
Jimmy
one.
Vesey. Jimmy Vesey was in
Yeah,
here.
VZ turned out fine.
Adam Pellick.
Another one. And yet, here we are with Mikhail fucking Grigorenko.
At least Jorgensen had an all-star game.
Yeah, that's true.
Listen, Tom, things could be a lot worse. You could be Edmonton wasting a first overall pick on a fucking malcontent Russian.
Yeah, that's true too. That is very true.
Yeah,
But
the top 10 was so bad. You want to hear the top 10?
yeah, go for it.
First overall was Nail Yakupov to Edmonton. Second overall was Ryan Murray to Columbus. Number 3 was Alex Galchenyuk to Montreal. Jesus Christ.
Jeez.
Number 4 was Griffin Reinhart to the New York Islanders. Jesus Christ. And
Oh,
yet
that
his
was
brother
bad.
is a Stanley Cup champion.
Right.
Number 5 was Morgan Riley to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Number 6 was Hampus Lindholm at number 6 to the Anaheim Ducks.
There's a name I
Number
haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, he's on the Boston Bruins. Matt Dumba at number 7 to the Minnesota Wild. Derek Pouliot. Oh, I remember this deal. That was when they traded Jordan Stahl to Carolina, and the Penguins got a first round pick in that draft.
Right.
And they took Derek Pouliot. Didn't really work out. He got drafted by Pittsburgh. Jacob Trouba at number 9 to Winnipeg, and then Slater Cuckoo at number 10 to Tampa Bay.
I gotcha. But you know what? At least for right now, I will say this. A good portion of Sabres games have actually been interesting to watch. More so this year than it has been in the last few years. They have got to get consistent. That's going to be the big thing. I will say, the team is not total ass right now. They're actually playing better than they were at this time last year, and we do still have plenty of games, but they have to get their shit together. That's really the big thing I will say. And actually one other point before we wrap up, because we're actually already 90 minutes in tonight. Brad also mentions during the football part of the show we all missed the punches on Josh Allen.
Well, I didn't miss it because I was there. I saw that.
True, yeah, but yeah, that should have been called. It wasn't.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, but other than that, I was gonna say, definitely it's nice to be back on the air, and nice to be in the new place finally, and everything's in great shape. So, of course, we'll be back as we usually are next week. We can finally start updating stuff again as we go forward too. Now that we finally have the computer and everything over here, like we had at the old place, so that all is good. And then with that, I just want to say, obviously it was a fun time with you in Seattle as it always is. Great time. Uh, totally enjoyed that city. It was a lot of fun, and I gotta say, who knows what happens for the big trip next year. We'll eventually find out. We'll eventually tell you when that does come around.
Well,
But
well, what I was gonna say is my sister is getting married next September, like late September. I think it's the 27th. It's a Saturday. So we don't even know if one of our trips is going to be up in the area because we won't even know the answer to this question until 2 weeks after the NFL draft in April. So
yeah,
it usually comes out in mid-May. So I won't have a fucking clue about how anything works, but I
yeah,
am cautiously optimistic about that. I think that there's going to be a Bills home game in week 4. The nice thing is that it's a Saturday game, or my sister's wedding is on a Saturday, so I'll take that for a grain of salt.
mhm,
The only thing I'm worried about is if the big trip, let's say like Atlanta, because that's a candidate for next year. Atlanta, Houston, Carolina, and Cleveland are all candidates for 2025 or Road to 32.
mhm,
My only concern is, and if any of those 4 games fall on the day of my sister's wedding,
right.
because if that's the case, I cannot go on that trip as much as I would love to do it, but we can't say anything or do anything about it, yet. So we're gonna find out in May for 2025 or what the 32.
Yep. So of course, keep it here, and we'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on. And last but not least, before we wrap up, were there any other things you want to talk about, or any other points you want to bring up?
No, I am good for now, and it's just good to be back. I'm really excited after 3 weeks of not being on the air. It's good to always be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, if you missed any of our previous episodes, you can always go to YouTube. You can also go to Spotify. We have those on there as well, which we'll start uploading those again. And of course, check out the Road to 32 episodes. We have 3 of them from the Seattle and the West Coast trip. So, of course, if you want to watch part with the Kraken game, you have a whole episode dedicated to that. If you want to see how things went in Vancouver, you have an entire episode dedicated to that. If you want to see how things went with the Seahawks game, you have an entire episode dedicated to that. So pick your flavor or choose all 3. They're all free. So
Yeah, pick your
that's one way.
poison because
Yes. Yep.
well, I will say is that it took me 2 weeks just for all 3 of them together. Originally, I was gonna put all of them together, but I said that's too long, so I cut them up into 3 episodes, which I thought was probably perfect
Yeah.
because I don't think anybody wants to sit through 2 hockey games and just to get to football.
Right. And plus, I think at that point we would have been almost over 2 hours long, anyways, in an episode. So,
Yeah, and I would have, and nobody would be watching. So I'm glad I cut it the way I thought it would be.
yep. But other than that, of course, it is great to be back. Of course, we're happy to be in the new digs here. So, with that, as always, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you next time.
Trump 2024.